Welcome back again. You're still watching us here on Nile Cruise, away from politics and the unfortunate events that are currently taking place here in Egypt, but also on how we can further develop Egypt and make it a better place for people to live in, being satisfied with their life conditions, for unemployment, for people to find better job opportunities, and to have a better life standard. Now, how we can do that, that's how Egypt is working very hard in this period to try to have a more stronger bilateral relations with foreign countries. Today we're going to be talking particularly about the Egyptian-Indian bilateral relations, particularly after the Egyptian Foreign Minister Nabil Fahmi's three-day visit to India. What was the result and the outcome of this visit, and what kind of projects could be joint between Egypt and India in the upcoming period? That's what we're going to be talking about with our guest. We're very much delighted to have joining us this afternoon Mr. Abu Mazen George, the head of the press information at the Indian Embassy here in Cairo. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. And at the beginning, I'd like to ask you about the importance of the Egyptian Foreign Minister visit to India, especially after the current situation in Egypt in the political aspect.
Yeah, it's a very important question you ask, because Minister Nabil Fahmi visited India. It was the first Asian country that he visited outside of the Arab world. We felt it was particularly important because there exists a strong historical relationship between India and Egypt, and the visit of Minister Nabil Fahmi came in the context of that there was a continuity in many of the projects that we had established in the past, and specifically with reference to the economic dimension, that there is a strong economic and commercial relationship between Egypt, and we wanted to make sure that the bilateral trade, the investment was continued at the same level. So we felt that was particularly the importance of Minister Nabil Fahmi's visit to India.
Yes, now Egypt and India, if they do implement their projects correctly, then that would be a very vast opportunity for both Egypt and India to proceed in various fields. Now, India is also becoming a very successful model in terms of boosting its economy. It's in competition with countries like Indonesia and Malaysia, as well as China. So how can India sort of transfer their expertise to Egypt and help it out of its current crisis?
Yeah, this aspect that you mentioned, I mean, our success in the economic field is very much important to us. I mean, the reason we have managed to achieve quite a considerable level of success in this field is that about 20 years ago we opened up our economy, and ever since then we've encouraged industries and free trade, especially in a few fields like information technology. You all know that in the field of information technology, the Indian companies are now dominating the market. Similarly, in small and medium enterprises. So we feel that in specific fields like this, there is a great deal of cooperation that can happen between India and Egypt. And to continue on that particular field, for example, in the field of small and medium enterprises, we have now signed between the National Social Fund for Development in Egypt and the Small and Industries Development Bank of India, it's called SIDBI, a program for transferring the resources, transferring knowledge, and providing consultancy into how to encourage the micro, small and medium enterprises to develop in a better way. Very recently we had a good exhibition at the India House showcasing the traditional heritage and the handicrafts of Egypt. This was important because, you know, handicrafts and traditional heritage often lead to employment for a lot of people, and it's important to market them well and now to send them abroad, to export them and to showcase it, and we were able to transfer this knowledge and expertise, which I think is a critical element of the cooperation.
So speaking about information technology, India will establish a center of excellence in information technology at the Azhar University. So I'd like to know from you more about the mission of the center and the whereabouts. Tell us more about
Yeah,
this.
this is a project which is currently ongoing, and we are looking at the various sites and locations to establish the Center for Information Technology. We received this request from Al-Azhar University, and I think that it was a kind of vindication of the close cooperation that exists, the stature of Al-Azhar as a beacon of Islamic learning and also of scientific education in the Middle East. By utilizing knowledge about the field of information technology from India, we wanted to take forward this cooperation and to ensure that students in Egypt were able to get the best out of our own experiences in the field of information technology.
Yes. Now, India, I believe, ranks second or third as the most populated country after China, and yet India is very successful in its administration process and administrative process in general, and as well is very strong in the field of education, which is of course a focal or the spinal cord of the success of any community. In these two fields in particular, how can India help transfer this experience and successful model to Egypt?
Yeah, as you mentioned, India is the second largest in terms of population after China. We've achieved considerable success in the field of education, primarily by a sustained effort in the field of literacy, in the field of adult education. When India achieved independence in 1947, more than half of our population was not educated, but they were not literate. But because of sustained engagement in the field of education, which has now, especially in the last 10 years, been coupled with information technology. So if you want to reach the last mile, as it were, to the last student, you might need to require the benefits of information technology, of telecommunication. So how do you transfer that knowledge? And that becomes particularly important because now we have started something known as the Pan-Africa E-Network project. So one of the nodal centers of this Pan-Africa E-Network project is actually in Alexandria University. This will enable tele-education, or when the student is not in the class, I mean he's located somewhere outside, he can, with the benefit of technology, participate in a class with top-level expertise, with a high level of curriculum, and then contribute to his, and that will add to his knowledge. So in the field of education, this has happened. In the field of administration, I would say that one advantage that we have had is in the field of e-governance, and we are exploring ways of working with our Egyptian counterparts in this particular field. How can e-governance be a way to increase the efficiency of administration?
Of course, and transparency too. Let me share some numbers. Bilateral trade grew from $5.42 billion in 2011-2012 year, moving up to slight increase to a $5.45 billion in 2012-2013. More than 50 Indian companies are operating in Egypt with a total investment of $2.5 billion. That's definitely making a diverse range of products in Egypt. What are the traded goods between Egypt and India?
Well, from the Egyptian side, the primary goods are there's crude oil, there is LNG, there is other kinds of there's cotton, and there's other kind of raw material. But from the Indian side, there is mineral products, there is other machinery, and electrical goods, as well as petrochemical products, meat. So there is a variety of products which are coming on both sides, and to add to your to the figures that you've just stated, India is actually now one of the largest export destinations for Egypt. It's actually the third largest export destination, and from the Indian side, it's the 11th largest import destination. So, or put together, this actually, I mean, the India-Egypt bilateral trade puts India as a 7th position in terms of total bilateral trade. And we are hoping this will grow. I mean, 5.5 billion is a very good number to start with. But there are a variety of fields in which we can cooperate, and especially in the field of investment. I just want to bring it to your notice that no Indian company has left Egypt after the January 25th revolution. And this is a signal or a symbol of the kind of deep economic relations that exist between India and Egypt.
Exactly, and instead of decreasing, the bilateral trade has been increasing, even if it was slightly.
Absolutely, absolutely, and yeah.
Yes, Nasser, another kind of cooperation that took place between India and Egypt was particularly by the Secretary General of the Arab League, Mr. Nabil Al-Arabi, when he visited India on the 17th of December. Tell us more about this kind of cooperation between India and the Arab League.
So this is actually quite important because of the fact that India and the Arab world in general have a very, very long history of relations. I mean, and the fact that the Arab League headquarters are located in Cairo is a symbol of how Egypt is important in the Arab world. With the Arab world in general, our trade is now more than $110 billion. We engage individually and bilaterally with each of the 22 countries of the Arab League. So we felt it was important to step up the level of cooperation between the Arab League as an organization and India. So when the Secretary General recently visited India, he signed a new memorandum of cooperation and an executive action program, under which now every year